Hi there, my name's John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text, and we tie it to an item from the Dollar Tree, or that you have something around your house, depending on where you're at in the world. But we're doing this thing, and your kids are so appreciative. They are so thankful for the stuff you're doing. I know it. I hear it from my people, and that 3-4 degrees, 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, all the things where we hear what other people are doing, and people are they're so weary, and in that same breath, they're so thankful that we're giving them respite and still doing this connecting ministry. And so thank you for your work. We're on the 5th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at the gospel lesson. And the reason I'm thankful for the lectionary and the liturgy and all of that is that I had to be reminded, what Sunday are we in now? Is this the what? And so the lectionary reminds me of where we're at and where we can find it. And so there we are. Looking at the gospel lesson. It's out of Matthew, and it's the 11th chapter, some selected verses. I'm really looking at the last part of Matthew because there's two things that get lifted up. One is that we're carrying heavy things. There's a burden, there's a heaviness that we feel. The people in Matthew felt it, and we feel it. And it can be across the board. It could be having conversations with your congregation about wearing a mask and how that has become a thing. And I'm not the wearing of the mask. I'm all for wearing the mask. Wear your mask. But the fact that we can get into that argument about like, oh, you shouldn't wear the mask, etc., etc. And it feels heavy. Where we're like, oh. And so there's that going on, and then we're longing for lightness. We're longing for a place to put this heaviness, and we're longing for a way to just be able to say, can someone take this, please? So, looking at the children's sermon, looking at that the kids know that it's heavy. I mean, you could talk about the kids not being able to see their friends for so long. The schools being shut down, not for so long. I mean, we're now getting to the point where we might be able to outside have a play date with some friends and make sure that we're doing it safely, but it is heavy and the kids feel it. So, what do? How do we talk about the heavy burden, but that also that we have Jesus that we can trust, and Jesus is ultimately in control and walking with us and helping us. And so what I'm looking at doing is I'm looking at acting. Yes, I know. Acting. And that acting is you have a bucket. It can be a sand bucket, where you'd go to the beach and you have a handle and you've got the sand, or it could be a 5-gallon bucket that you'd fill with dirt, or a painter's bucket, but it's empty. And it's got the handle on it, and it's empty. The thing is, though, the kids, when you're filming this, or you're doing it for, if you have a way that you're worshiping together at this point, you can do it where you've got it in a place where the kids can see the bucket, but they can't see in the bucket. And the thing is the bucket, it is heavy. It is so heavy that you are having one heck of a time lifting it up. This is the bucket. This is a great book, by the way, Messy Spirituality by Mike Yaconelli. I highly recommend it. But so you've got the bucket. You've got something you're lifting. It's not that heavy. You know it's not that heavy, but they don't. And you've got this bucket. Then it doesn't work well with a book, but you've got this bucket. And you talk about how in this bucket you've got stone after stone after stone. You've got dirt. You've got stuff that you've been carrying around for a long time. And then maybe move into that. Say, you know what? And I have all of the stuff that I've done wrong. I've got all of the ways that I've messed up. I keep it in this bucket as well. I've got the stuff that makes me in the morning go, oh, I'm not going to be able to see my friends again today. I was so upset. I yelled at my brother, and I don't know, that doesn't feel right. And this is really weighing heavy on me. And the kids get that. The kids understand about the pressure, that pushing down, where it's like, oh. And so you've got all of that. You've got the stuff in the bucket that you've put in the bucket. You go to lift it. And you're lifting, and you cannot get it off the ground. And it won't move by the life of me. And then, so we're carrying heavy burdens. But Jesus says to put our burdens onto Jesus. The text puts it this way. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This idea that we have a God that can take our stuff. We have a God that we can leave our stuff. We have a God that lightens our load. And the sense where we go, oh, and we can start to lift a little bit more. And not because the stuff is easier, but because we have a God that forgives us, that we can let that stuff go. I no longer have to carry the burden about worrying about messing up yesterday, because God has taken care of that. And we can lift it a little bit lighter and lift it up a little bit more. So that's the direction I'm going. That's the springboard where I'm working with, is the idea. And there's so many ways that you can do that. You could have a balloon that looks like it's a balloon, and it's a heavy balloon. It's full of stuff. Maybe if you've got access, go to the store, get a helium balloon. But they don't know it's a helium balloon. You walk out with a helium balloon, and it's just a balloon. And there's not a string attached to it or whatever. Maybe you want a string attached to it so it doesn't float off and end up losing it and hurting an animal or something like that. But you've got a helium balloon, and you're there, and you're trying to lift it up, and it's so heavy because it's so full of all this stuff. And then when you talk about that, the yoke of Jesus is light, and then as you're talking, you can bring it up, but then you let it go, and it rises up. And that visual between being so heavy and the exact opposite of being so light. All right, a couple of different things. I hope they can be useful for you. I hope it's a springboard. And thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much again for the work that you are doing. You are a blessing to the congregation. You are a blessing to your kids. And as this continues, we can feel it ourselves, this weariness. I will be the one to remind you, cast your burdens onto Jesus, for he cares for you. I'm almost breaking out into a camp song, cast your burdens unto Jesus, for he cares for you. Yep, that's why I like singing in community, because soloing's not my forte, but singing in community, I like it, and even that is a heavy burden. We go, oh, we know that this is a hard time, and so blessings be on you as you are a blessing to your congregation. All right, peace. We will see you next week.